Have fun. Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple closed roadie groups, one called Death by Loadout and another one called The Backstage Pass. With me this evening is my good dear friend, fresh back from the road, Kyle Thomas. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Vinny. Good to see you, brother.
It's good to have you in the house. Last week we had Bernie Broderick kick it in for you and sit in, and he's, one of my best friends in the world, but you're two very different energies, so it's nice to see you back.
No, sure are.
I enjoy him beyond words. It's just a different thing, so it's good to see you.
Thank you, brother.
How was your travels?
It was good. Fucking long little route, but back here, was out doing some view training with Mike Brown and Winston Daum last week at some point, and then we were off prepping Janet Jackson's little run for rehearsals down in San Diego, and then off doing a Lizzo show, so it was really fun.
Wow, you just ripped through that. Now, let's go back to Winston.
Well,
is Winston, is this like, remember I was calling like Dammy or something forever? It's because it's D-A-M-M-E. It's Dama. Is it Dama, Mikey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Dama. He's in the house. He's over in repair, building, fixing stuff right now.
That's right. He's fucking local badass, man. I love that guy.
He's a legend. But right on. Cool.
Yeah, so to extrapolate, we got, like a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how we got this new View V12 rig in, or A12 rig in.
AL12.
AL12,
there
sorry.
you go.
Been a long day.
Well, because View has an A series and an AL series.
Absolutely.
So there's an A12 and then there's AL12.
Sure, so we got the rig that used to be Usher's rig.
That's correct.
And have put it out, our recent show at Shoreline Amphitheater for Lizzo. It was kind of our first time implementing it in-house. Went really well. Really appreciative that Mike and Winston were on it.
I heard a little bird told me that it was pushing 120 at front of house.
Oh, I don't know. I can't speak on that. I wasn't there.
It was another bird.
It was another bird.
But they said it was really, somebody had their foot in the gas and that it was an excellent show.
It was definitely, it was loud, I'm sure. It was loud back where I was, too. So
Right on.
Also, like I always do, I got to thank Ken Newman. Even though I wasn't here, it was lovely to have him in, and I got to rewatch the show. It's one of the guys I always really wanted to talk to.
He's an extraordinary cat. The career speaks for itself, all the stuff that he's done, Engelbert Humperdinck, Burt Bacharach, these are crazy names, Shirley MacLaine. Now, to a younger ear, those wouldn't ring out. But to me, and some of the people from my crew and my generation, Burt Bacharach, dude, Burt Bacharach is a god. Shirley MacLaine, full, like, Mikey told me not to say American treasure anymore. National treasure. I said it too much. She was an amazing woman that could do almost anything. Extraordinary. Warren Beatty's sister, this amazing actress. And Kenny came on and shared all that with us. It was absolutely a treat. It was a straight up walk down memory lane, at least for the kind of the playlist of my life. The different things that he'd worked with. Barry Manilow is huge, and he's been with him forever. That's one artist that I've seen. I remember one time we were doing something. This is probably the 90s, middle 90s. And I remember Barry Manilow's thing came through. It was a theater in the round, and it sold out in 28 minutes, the whole tour. 28 minutes.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You think about it.
Yeah, a theater in the round.
Yeah.
And these were some mid-sized houses up, some larger houses in major cities, and sold it out in 28 minutes. I always thought that was kind of impressive.
Super, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that was his part of it, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So who was he out with at that point? Do you know?
Who, Barry?
Ken Newman.
Oh, what point? During when this happened?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't. I would be lying to you if I put a name to it. I don't want to misquote Ken's extraordinary history.
Yeah, gotcha.
50 years of working with the biggest artist, Liza Minnelli. Liza Minnelli, for Christ's sake. It's Liza Minnelli. That's Judy Garland's daughter. The girl from The Wizard of Oz. We won't say it's American royalty, but it is. That's different than that. I think I was warned off a National Treasure, so Mike, I think I came up with a replacement for that, buddy.
You came up with 3 different ones each time you try to correct yourself.
I'm gonna probably get smacked around after this show, by the way, but that's fine. You were saying.
So, anyways, I'd also like to thank Greg Rideout. We want to congratulate him. He stopped in on his way out for a short tour with Sum 41.
Yeah.
Also, we had Jonas from EAW. He stopped by yesterday or the day before.
It was yesterday. He was in town. He's up the way at some big integration thing, one of these mammoth churches down that way.
That one, the couple of crosses thing.
I wasn't trying to name it, but yeah, It's a big deal. And he's in there throwing in, he was doing a demo. It's already got an Anya system in place.
Oh.
I believe it's left, center, right. Anya rig in there. I didn't even know it was up the road, you know. It's like weird to me. Yeah, right. And I was thinking, so me and Mikey if time was to permit, we were gonna blow by, and you know, Jonas is a friend of ours from EAW, and he's doing this big demo, and of course it helps when you know, folks show up to these demos, you know, and he promised pizza and the whole nine.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But of course we were too busy, so I sent him a note saying, "Hey, buddy, it's going to have to be next time, but thanks for the invite." But I was very interested. I guess EAW has some new line array out and some, I guess, a new column speaker that is immersive in its own right, and I guess we got to check that out eventually. But just the timing wasn't right today. So my apologies to Jonas, but I did send a note to him so he'd know that we wouldn't be able to make it.
Yeah, man, I was bummed. Like I said, all week I've been kind of floating everywhere, so it's been a bummer to miss some of these guys, but I'm sure he'll be back around.
I think so. Yeah, I know so. It's just the nature.
Jonas, you need to bring some calm speakers here, bud.
And T-shirts.
And T-shirts. Mike's got this sweet jacket. Where's my jacket?
Yeah, right. What the hell? The hell.
Anyways, so I'm out with Pat Eigenman tomorrow on Heavy Metal Orchestra.
What's that about?
It's DeRosa School, local college kids that throw an event every year. I think it's like, 30, 40 piece orchestra with a death metal band, so it should be fun.
I know. I haven't been to it. We've done it for about years. I haven't stopped in, but I always hear it's very well received and it's a very well done thing. And I know the people that are putting it up are also, you know, straight up professionals. So yeah, it should go on. Of course, we're going to be there, so we'll bring the A game and make it all nice. So I'm sure you guys have a great time.
Definitely. Yeah, and like I said, just a quick shout out to all the guys, the local union over at Shoreline that took care of us for the Lizzo show. We had a really good time over there.
What would that be? 134, I would imagine.
Well, it was a mixture, I feel
16
like.
16 and 134?
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of faces I haven't seen in a while. It was really nice.
Yeah, they're certainly coming back out. I want to jump back a little bit to Mr. Gregory Rideout. So he's a dear friend. He's a backline badass and a monitor god in his own right. So this is the guy that handles both ends of that job. And equally proficiently. He's been around for, 30 plus years. He was in the neighborhood jumping off of one tour, heading back to his stomping ground, have a day off, and then go forward to some.
Yeah, he's a Sacramento boy, right?
No, I think he's a Tennessee boy.
Oh, shit. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, he's got a studio and the whole bit out there, and he does an amazing job. He's an extremely pleasant fellow and a dear friend, and it was a nice surprise for him to just pop in. You know, I was working away, and he rolled up on me, and it was really great to see him. I mean, he's, again, a dear friend, and we wish him all the best. He's going to go out with, I think, Sum 41 and Simple Plan, and, go do some sheds or something and go kill it. So I just love hearing my friends being successful and going and having fun, and he just happens to be one of the extra good guys, so we're super rooting for him.
My 16-year-old self just got all happy.
Yeah, I'm with you. That sounded pejorative in some ways, but just going to move on because I'm excited.
I meant
for
it
my
with
friend,
love.
And he's very happy.
My memories. Totally.
Yeah. He's going to kill it.
I also want to thank Dum Dum and congratulate him. He's just ending his little run down at Coachella.
We're talking about Travis?
No, Erickson and a couple other guys. They're down in at Coachella. They did the whole setup there, built the stages out. So we just wanted to.
Who were they? Who was that? Gallagher? Who brought the stages?
Klieg. Yeah.
No kidding. And Eric works for Klieg?
No. Dum Dum's a local union guy up here. He's local 16 and 134.
And he was down there in Coachella?
Sure was.
On the 134 tip?
I don't know how he's down there, but yeah. You just got to show him some love. Your brother, a local union guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy that he's out traveling, you know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that was a lot of fun, too.
Definitely.
You know, it's a great big gig. I noticed the lineup. Now, this is something about, I'm gonna show my age here, but I was looking at the lineup a little after the fact. And other than a couple bands that were off the top that were obvious to me, Billie Eilish and a couple others, I had no clue who was in that lineup. It was crazy, like reading through it. Yeah, Danny murdered it. I guess Danny stole the stage. But that's what I know of Danny Elfman. I mean, even though he's 63, I've never not seen him come and leave it all on the stage. Like some of the best shows I've ever seen, they were real comparable with what the Tubes were doing in the 80s. The Tubes would come out and put on this crazy show and do all this insane shit, and Fee-Way will be all dressed up in these crazy, 9-inch heels and, one-piece jumpers and shit. And it was just nuts,
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a poppier rock version of what Kiss was doing, but a little lighter, but its own thing. And then you look at Oingo Boingo. Oingo Boingo will always bring the greatest shows. I mean, like crazy shows, kind of surfer-based shows. I remember one time we did a thing with him, and they brought in, I don't know, about 4 inches of sand and covered the whole stage, and then put a big lifeguard tower right on stage, right?
That's so cool.
There was a lifeguard up there. They're throwing balls, and there's like girls like playing volleyball. It was extraordinary, man. And they like tore that place new asshole.
So are you telling me that like you just didn't know the artist, or are you saying you're turning into your father slightly?
Well, maybe a little bit of both.
Okay.
No, a lot of the one and a little bit of the other. It's inevitable. You'll see that whole thing you hear in your say, stuff that your parents used to say. You're like, I'm never gonna do that, and then all of a sudden you're like doing it. It just happens, man. It's inevitable. But I was just amazed at how few of the artists were familiar to me. The turnover is very rapid anymore. And there was a little more staying power back in the day when I was a little more in tune with things. And although I listen, as all of you well know, I listen to music every day, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. I mean, I love music. I absolutely
love it. He does at an unacceptable level.
Yeah, that is true. But again, I love music. It's my motivation. It's my everything. But I've just struggled to keep up with some of the newer stuff. It's just not. It's not tickling my ear. It doesn't do anything for me, and so I kind of linger away from it. So I was stunned by how somewhat disconnected I was from the Coachella lineup. So much of it was unfamiliar to me, but I know they had a great show, and they threw a big rock show, and a lot of our brothers and sisters were working it, and a lot of our friends were there, and almost pretty much almost across the board was nothing but good reports of a great show, and a lot of good things. So. Right on for that crew.
Dude, absolutely nailed it. And also, we'll get the Coachella Dirty Girl playlist going on Spotify or something in your room so you can refresh her up on the artists you don't know. Well,
there's something, I think you're joking a little bit, but there is something I feel like on some levels it's incumbent upon me to know some of these things. So when I say to the guys, hey guys, we're doing this band Grimes this week, who wants it? And they're like, and I'm like, what the hell? And they're like, that Grimes rules. And I'm like, okay, I just do the show, man, Well, okay. This happened with St. Vincent last year too, I think. St. Vincent came up and I was unfamiliar. I am now familiar. And just very talented guy. So was Grimes.
He just wanted to fight him because he's like, dude, St. Vincent, that's a name I already took.
It's funny because it didn't even ring through to me like that. Like, my name's Vincent as well. I didn't play that like that. I was just like reading the file, looking at the input list, and it was like, okay, who wants to do St. Vincent?
It's like, wow, this is my band. What the fuck?
And everybody's like, St. Vincent. I was like, okay. Who's St. Vincent? This is embarrassing.
Can't know it all.
But no, you really can't. But I'm trying to be somewhat up to date, but it's a little faster than my speed. Yeah. And as we know, I keep myself busy with other things too. So by the time I get home and turn on the news and cook dinner, it's 10. And and I've just finished up doing whatever else, Facebook, this place, sound image stuff, and I'm not looking to do much more after that.
Totally.
Yeah.
You got to unwind at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
My eyes actually hurt yesterday.
Poor guy.
Just had sore eyes. I was telling my secretary, I was like, yeah, my eyes hurt. Like, what does that exactly mean? And I said, well, actually, they hurt on the outside and the inside.
That was about Saturday. Me and my buddy sat at his house, and we just got finished working, and it was like, man, like, that wasn't very physical, but I'm just fucking emotionally exhausted. Like mentally, it's like way too much for the day.
Well, see, there's physical exhaustion, there's emotional exhaustion. I would prefer physical over emotional any day, because emotional exhaustion just sucks. Yeah, you're just seeing too much, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right, listen, man, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, but I got an amazing guest that's coming in and doing a part 2 with us, and I got to get to it.
You sure do. You got to hand off her book when you're done with it.
No, I'm not doing that. Comes out on August 2nd. You get your own damn book.
Damn it. I'm stealing it.
All right.
I heard it's really good.
It is really good, dude. It's a great read. I'm not just saying that because she's like right there, but I mean this. This is like a full page turner. Like,
no, you've told me several times.
It's really dense. Like there is a ton of information. It is a serious, real deal book. We're talking about the book Loud by the lovely Tana Douglas. This young lady this evening with us is, I think, widely accepted as the world's first female roadie, which I think it does a disservice. She's just a badass roadie, regardless of gender. She happens to be one of the first females, if not the first female. She is. I liked it, something I had read earlier, that she had finally worked enough and accumulated enough stuff where she actually wrote down her resume. It's right here in this book. It's friggin' so cool. Extraordinary. She's worked with everybody from The Who. That she started out with AC/DC, Elton John. Some really extraordinary moments in her career, Iggy Pop. The list is almost too long. You can't have a 40-year career spanning all of rock and roll and not have hit some amazing milestones and moments in it. Hopefully she's going to share that stuff with us this evening. It is the one. Please welcome to our show, the one and only, the lovely Tana Douglas. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hey, guys. Happy to be back. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm living the dream. Kyle?
I'm doing great. You see it. This light's right in my eyes. We're having a good day so far.
Big baby. Here's some glasses. You want some glasses?
Have it no other way.
All right. You're gonna be okay. Don't you worry about him, Tana. Tana, I wanna get into the meat and potatoes. I'm gonna zigzag around a little bit. We're doing somewhat of a follow-up on an earlier interview we had done with you, which was, I think my grill might have forgot I'm doing a show right now. Honey, I'm doing a show right now with Tana Douglas. I'll call you in a little while, okay? All right, sorry, Tana. We had done an interview with you, but there was just no way. I've noticed in some of the other podcasts you've done too, you have to do it in multiple, because it's such a wealth of information, and so you've had so many wonderful, extraordinary experiences. So it's really hard to get it out in one show. So thank you for coming back and talking with us about them. I would like to start with, in a way, to just generally refresh the audience with your experience and who you are, is if you could, for the audience mainly, if you could describe in your own words what you felt you did for a living for the last 40 years.
For the last 40 years.
How would you describe it?
It's a lot to do with masochism. It's a lot to do with
the absolute fact.
It's a lot to do with the love of music, and it's a lot to do with the love of travel, and just, it's the people. It's the people that keep you coming back. That's what it is. You hook up with some of the most amazing people on the planet, and, you go through a lot of shit together, and you just form these bonds that just don't go away. So you can't. It's like you keep saying, I'll give it a break. And then it's like, oh, God, I'm back.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's one foot in, one foot out, and then you miss either side of it, and it's just how it is. I mentioned your book, Loud. I really love this book. I read this thing from cover to cover. It took me a minute because, I'm a busy guy, but, man, I every free second I got, I delved into this thing, and I loved it. I really loved it. I even reread a couple things a couple times. You have a really a way with turning a phrase. Let's talk about, so the book's called Loud. When I know that it was originally distributed, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, in Australia, your country of origin, and then then the COVID came and it kind of put a hiccup in the United States and Canada release and the UK release. Has that been sorted out, and are there new dates for the release so everybody can get their hands on this book?
Yeah, absolutely. It got released a year ago in Australia and New Zealand. And yeah, like you say, the only promotion we could do and stuff was via Zoom and all that sort of thing. But despite that, it did really well. And because it sold so well down there, that even, with this, there's a backlog with COVID of books being released and all that sort of stuff. But HarperCollins, who's like one of the big three publishers, which is also a really cool thing, I might add, that, no one from like production, a crew person, has ever had a book published by a major publisher before, So hopefully this opens the door for people also that they can have their stories out there as well. You know what I mean? Because, HarperCollins has got the faith that they've now picked it up for, America and Canada comes out on August the 2nd or the 3rd. And then in September, it comes out in the UK. So, they're all on board, which is great, So, it's kind of rare that a book that's made down in Australia gets picked up worldwide. So, I'm really happy with it. It's quite exciting, really.
Oh, and I can't think of a better, more representative book. I read a batch. There's a few different offerings from different folks, and you're kind of the way that you tell the story is very accessible. And again, it's like I said, you have a way of turning a phrase, and it's a definite page turner. There's some exciting stuff in here. There's some very revealing. It was a very candid book. I thought you really you didn't phone this in. I know that you put in a lot of work on this one. What does it mean to you? I mean, You really put your life into this thing. What's it mean to your heart? Are you excited that it's coming up? I guess it's a couple questions, but.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a bit validating in a way. I think you get to a point in the career in this industry where you think, am I, you get to that age and you think, should I keep touring? What should I do? Did I do everything that I should have done with my life? You get all these, you have these moments,
of course,
which are really too late because you've done it. You know what I mean? But you think, should I have done it differently or whatever? So. I mean, I never really thought about it as I was going along, but when people kept mentioning that, it's a really good story and something should be done with it, that, it was like, well, you know what, maybe, I mean, someone else offered to write it for me. And I just found that if I was going to do it, I would be the only one who could do that, so I didn't have any help with writing or anything like that. I did have an editor, but that's after the fact,
Sure.
But it was kind of surprising. Yeah, it was kind of surprising how. I mean, it was a shambles, because you're trying to, I did it by decades, and then I broke it down to years.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, it's a huge task, but. You find a way to do it. It's just like, patching a show or whatever. You break it down into bite-sized pieces and you deal with each section at a time, So, I just brought in that, the same principle, so that's kind of how I dealt with it. And I wanted it to be a story about us and in the industry from our perspective and give the audience, like the general public, they kind of think that they know a lot more than they do now, because they've started figuring out that, they come up and tell you how to do the sound and how to do the lights and what they think and all this. And it's like, oh God, But I think if they learn from a story like this as well, maybe they won't do that so much. They'll go, oh shit, these people really, they go through a lot to do this, I'm going to sit back and respect this, So I think that's what it is, because especially the term roadie, it got such a negative sort of connotation to it over the years. I mean, that's what we all were in the beginning, but then it became, then we all became technicians and supervisors and whatever.
Yeah.
But, we're still roadies. That's what we are. And I wanted to sort of put some validation back on that. And the people who started it all back in the beginning, we were a really rough and tumble bunch, for Christ's sake. It was the Wild West,
Absolutely.
But some of those people who might have been terrifying to look at. If you didn't know them, you'd think, Jesus Christ, this person's crazy. I'm not going anywhere near them. But they're actually like incredibly intelligent. And we came up with some amazing things. And incredible companies have been born out of it, like companies like Clare Brothers and Tate Towers, and different companies like that have all come. Yeah. And they've all come from that, little in the dirt playing, digging things together and just making it happen attitude, and it's evolved into this, So I'm really proud of the industry, and I just think that people should understand that,
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think this book it's nice in that it tells some of your victories and your struggles, and it speaks to your personal experience, but it also speaks larger in a more specific way to the rough and tumble of the early days of our industry and some of the evolution of the industry and the work as it's progressed. And I think this book really, it fills those spaces. I felt like in many ways, I was there with you while I was reading and experiencing some of the stuff you had experienced, and at the same time, thought you really did a great service to the larger industry and the ones that like to call themselves by some of the titles we've made up, and the ones like myself who still call ourselves roadies, and I'm super cool with it. I know I've had this. I find it very interesting. Some of the technicians, some of my dear friends that will argue with me, saying something like, "Well, I'm a mix engineer," and I say, "Yeah, and you're going where this week? Oh, St. Louis. How you getting there? Yeah, you're roadieing your way out there." We'll try to have these intellectual debates over what's good or not good about being a roadie. So let me ask you. Tell me if I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, but is this being turned into a feature of some sort? Is Loud going to be? Am I jumping out early?
What we're doing? No. There's different rights that you have with books, and I've actually signed over the rights for a documentary. I haven't as yet signed over the rights for a feature, but I have signed over the rights for a documentary. So the feature's still in the bag there. If someone wants it, it's available. But the documentary, actually, the producer and the director are flying into Los Angeles on the 2nd of May. So we're going to spend a month going over, it's the film industry. So God knows everything takes forever,
Sure.
But so what we're going to do is we're going to formulate, put a formula together that we then put in, but, present to different companies. And because you've got to get funding and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
But, AEG's already said that they're interested. Universal Music's already said that they're interested, so, hopefully, we won't have a problem with that end of it. What we're trying to do now is just work on the structuring of it. Is it going to be a 1-hour documentary? Is it going to be more than one part, or, whatever? So, that's what you have to go through. And obviously with the music licensing, we're going to need a lot of money.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Just because we want to do it right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's ways to do it, but we want to do it the right way, and we want to have a lot of music in that documentary. So, that means we're going to need, a few million. So,
Absolutely.
that's what we're going for. And no one seems to be scared by the numbers. So hopefully that's what's going to happen, And, they're looking at starting to film probably the end of this year, or latest early next year, and then have it out by the end of 2024, So, the beginning of 2024 at the latest. So, it's like a 2-year thing, which is pretty standard, I guess, in the hurry up and wait world of the film industry.
Sure.
But it's exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
I cannot see any way they could jam this into an hour. There's no way. It would be impossible.
Yeah.
I can't visualize that. It's such a beefy book, and it's got so much heft to it, and there's so many great stories. And you work through the eras, from the AC/DC, ELO, some of the best bands in the world, up to modern day stuff with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Lenny Kravitz and some of these great bands. I wanted to ask you, I noticed behind you, you've got the great NXS. I believe that's a Listen Like Thieves album, in the frame. And we have, what was today? Today was like more of a Caius, Queens of the Stone Age day, a hard rock day.
I don't know, you're a little floaty this morning, and then it transitioned into some good stuff.
Okay. Well, apparently I was floaty this morning, but I worked it out somewhere in the mid of the day. So, cool, man. I'm glad
you got over it.
Yeah, I'm glad I came around.
I almost came and questioned, is Vince okay? What is he fucking playing right now?
I don't even remember what we started out with. What did we start
sad.
out
I don't know. It was sad.
Yeah, sometimes in the morning, I think, the morning music, I want to come in hard and play some Mastodon or some Slayer or some crazy shit, but feels like the morning that's not appropriate. You might want to break out some Neil Diamond or
sometimes.
It just. But I don't know what I started with today. But
let me tell you, it wasn't Caius. Okay.
Yeah, I got that impression. But we'll have NXS days here, because that's one of those bands that as a band, to be able to put out as many great albums as they did, which is just. It's a rare thing in rock and roll music. And NXS was such an extraordinary band, and with the death of Michael Hutchinson and all that, it was just traumatic and sad, because they were just That was one of those bands I imagine was going to keep doing it like the Stones did, just coming out year after year, doing mortgage tours and, making people happy for many decades to come. What was your experience with the Great INXS?
Well, NXS, I did actually a US tour with them through Delicate Productions. And after that, I was on Elton, and NXS was back over doing more shows. And they were at the Palladium in LA here. And their tour manager at the time got hold of me and said, you're with Elton, and NXS really wants Chris Thomas, who's Elton's producer, to produce their next album, which was Listen Like Thieves, or became Listen Like Thieves. And they said, but, there was a bit of a problem. And I said, well, why did they ask him? And they said, well, he's on tour with you guys. I said, well, yeah, he's been out backwards and forwards over the months, yeah. They said, so you know him. Can you ask, can you talk to him? And I said, well, why don't you guys talk to him? I mean, I'm sure he's heard of INXS and he's got impeccable taste. So I'm sure, he'd be good. And they said, well, there was a bit of a problem. And it's like, well, what do you mean a bit of a problem? Always a bit of a problem. And I guess their manager at the time had spoken to Chris Thomas, the producer, and Chris hadn't even met the band at this point, but something happened and Chris Thomas just went, nah, you know what? I don't think so. It was a personality thing,
sure.
So, and Chris is pretty laid back. So, and so he was like, Chris Murphy can be a little in your face, So Anyway, Chris Thomas, the producer, went, nah, So we did our last show at the Forum, I believe it was, with Elton, and Chris has gone, Tana, you got to come out to dinner with me. At all tour, he'd been asking me to come out to dinner on night off. Nothing funny, you know what I mean? Just hang out,
Yeah.
And I, finally, and so the tour manager for INXS is like, can you get him to at least, come and talk to us, And he says, we're doing a show. I'll put you guys on the guest list. Can you get him to come, So I go to Chris Thomas. I say, hey, Chris, why don't we go to dinner tomorrow night? I said, because I'll be in town still. You'll be in town still. Yeah. And then, I said, but then I've got to leave town again because I was going out on something else. And he's like, okay. I said, but first we've got to go by this show. He said, a show? He says, we just finished an 18-month tour. He says, you want to go to a show? And I said, well, come on, just do me a favor. I said, you only got to watch a couple of songs. I said, they're Australian, they're friends of mine. I just want to see it, catch a couple of songs, then we can go out to eat. So he's like, oh, well, and he's staying up the road at the Chateau Marmont, so I'm figuring it should be easy to get him down the hill there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm at the Palladium, and I said to the tour manager, I said, look, on one condition, I'll try this. I said, I'll ask him for you on one condition, don't tell the band, because then if he doesn't turn up, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not my fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I promise. Well, I walk into the Palladium, I get to the front of house riser, and all of a sudden everyone's going, where's Chris? Is he here? Is he? And I'm like, what happened with the don't tell anybody bit? You know what I mean? So the band's all nervous. They're backstage. I'm there. Chris isn't. It's like, oh, for God's sake. Now I look like an asshole. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh. So I'm going backwards and forwards to the thing. The band starts their set, and it's like, oh, God. So, and then Chris Murphy, their manager's standing next to me, looking at me, giving me like a dirty eye thing. And it's like, what? It's like, Jesus. So I was just about to leave thinking, you know what, I really don't need this. I got to go. So, and there's Chris. Chris walks in, So he walks in, he's going, come on, can we go? And before he got the sentence out, he stopped and he turned and he looked at the stage and he was like, oh. So then I pull him up on the riser, the front house riser,
Yeah.
So we watch the rest of the show, take him backstage. And I figure, look, this is nothing to do with me. Let them talk to each other and blah, blah, blah. I'll wait out in the hall and just chat to, the crew and stuff who I know. Well, an hour goes by, an hour and a half goes by, and it's like, well, I'm starving by this point. It's like, where the hell is he, And they're all shooting off to the hotel. They've got bottles of champagne. They've done the deal. And it's like, and they go, you come to the hotel. It's like, no, I'm starving. I'm going to go and get something to eat. So they got their deal. I never even got dinner. And it became a 3-record deal they did together, which is fabulous. I mean, I was actually in Australia for a bit while In Excess was recording this album, and they did invite me up a bunch up to Sydney. I was in Melbourne, and I just couldn't go at the time. I had other stuff going on, but you know, and so in the end they go, well, what can we do? What can we do? We really want to say thank you. And I said, I don't know, just give me a platinum album. They go, well, it's not even out yet. I said, what, you don't think it's going to go platinum? They're like, okay, you know. So yeah, so hence the platinum album. Yeah. So but it was good, you know. I mean, and you know, that's the sort of thing that crew do, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I find that time and time again that we'll find a direct way to just beat through all the red tape and all the bullshit and just say, you know what, this is what someone really needs. This is what someone wants. Let's just do it. You know, let's make it happen. You know, and that's, you know, that's a really integral part of what we do. You know, I think.
Well, I think you're talking about the importance of being a good hang, you know, and the networking that is so much about, you know, from one job to the next and how things get connected in this business. And I would say that, you know, that offering and everything they did from that point on, X and the other albums, is just extraordinary. I mean, really one of my favorite pop albums of all time. I even struggle to call it pop because it's not pop and it's like a rock pop. It's I mean, they're just an extraordinary band and a lot of fun and singular. They had their own sound and what an amazing pairing you brought together, because I think the evidence is in the output, you know, what they were able to do together, and it's phenomenal. I can't recommend that album enough, and the things that followed it. Let me ask you about, I thought I noticed that you were, you know, NAMM's coming up, a very large music conference and industry conference in LA, and tell me if I'm wrong. Are you speaking at NAMM? You're a guest speaker this year, featured speaker?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What
I am actually with. Well, I've got Daniel Liston Keller.
Oh, sure.
He and I are going to do a thing together. He's interviewed me a couple of times, you know, for different stuff, you know, whether it's Sound Girls or whatever. And so we're going to have a speaking engagement. I don't actually. I probably should by now, but I don't know what day it is or anything like that. But I'm not even sure if they've released the whole schedule yet. You know what I mean? But it'll be on the schedule, and that's when they tell you what room it's in and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, so we're doing that, and got a little thing in the works with Shaw Microphones, which could be interesting. So hopefully that's going to come about. Don't really, you know, we haven't figured out exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be a little bit of a roving reporter type thing, I think, which is going to be fun.
Oh, that could be very cool.
You know, you know, so, and, you know, HarperCollins, again, my publisher, has said that, you know, even though the book doesn't come out in America until August, you know, they can supply books for NAMM for me. So, you know, that way we can have like a pre-launch for the industry. And I said it was important, you know, because I think, you know, I mean, everyone's been supportive here already, but, you know, you have to order it and it comes out of Australia, or you can download it and all that sort of stuff, obviously, because it's in every format. You know, there's an audio book, there's an ebook, and there's the print book. But, you know, I think it's nice when you can actually just walk into a store. I mean, I haven't been able to walk into a store and see it on a shelf. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's funny. People keep sending me photos. They're going, here it is. And it's like, yeah, but it's not the same.
Yeah, you need to do it. You need to put hands on it. Yeah, I totally get that.
Absolutely. So it'll be nice, you know. So they're going to send me a bunch of copies for that, and you know, we can do some stuff with that while we're at NAMM as well. So yeah, and there's a couple of other things that we're hooking up. So, you know, once they're all sort of, you know, finalized and everything, and I've got some idea of a schedule, I'll stick them up on Facebook and, you know, LinkedIn or whatever. So, and I've got a website as well. We'll stick them up on the website probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So it's interesting. And June's kind of a funny time of year. I'm not quite sure the logic behind that, but, you know, seeing it's touring season, but, you know, I guess they had to do it sometime.
Well, you know, they got thrown out, 2 years it didn't happen? We didn't have NAMM for 2 years, I think, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I noticed they moved it up. This year is going to be in June. I think next year is going to be in April. I saw they were messing with the dates. They're going to try to pull the whole thing back, into a little bit more doable.
Gradually
time.
bring it back to
because
back to January eventually.
Yeah, because I think a bunch of folks would be very, very hard for them to attend. And I think they just took the slot that they felt was the most safe for them. And of course, 2 years is quite the hiatus for NAMM. So I wish you a great time at NAMM. Hopefully, I know somebody from Sound or multiple folks from Sound Image will be down representing. So if I'm not there,
we'll have to hook up.
I would like that very much.
Absolutely.
I noticed you went and did some wedding duties recently. Talk to us about that.
You sit back and you think, is there anything you're going to do that's normal? I go to a wedding as part of a wedding, as part of a wedding party. And what am I? I'm the father of the bride, which was...
And who got married?
Which was hilarious, I thought. Ricky from Poison. So Ricky Rocket and his wonderful girlfriend of the last several years, TC, who is a dear friend of mine. So, and it's good. I know them both and I love them dearly, and I was really honoured to do it, even if I was the father of the bride. I scared the hell out of him on the actual wedding day because, we're down there. We did the walkthrough on the same day, and I pulled him aside and I said, "So, Ricky, you do realise now I need to give you the father of the bride speech, right, son?"
That's awesome.
I couldn't help myself. I had to. Yeah, but, so it was nice, and the whole band was there except for CC, his mum. She just had a stroke, actually, which was unfortunate, so he couldn't come. Yeah. But the rest of the band was there, and they're all in fine form. They're going out they've got that tour going out with Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and Joan Jett. So that's going to be a stadium tour. So that'll keep them off the streets for a while. Or on the streets for a while, I should say. But yeah, I might even get to go and see my first Poison show. I've never seen a show.
That's awesome.
Which was the other weird thing as well. Exactly. It's like I've never seen a Poison show. Don't know anything about them, but they're mates, So it's like, how bizarre is this? So now I have to go.
No, you definitely got to show up for that. We had Rick Allen up here recently. I don't know, a few days ago, and he came in. We were hanging out for a minute. And I was packing, I think your thing, and he said to me, "Vinny, you got to, we're going on this tour here with Motley Crue," and I'm like, "Yeah, right on." And he said, I want you to go. I got my own bus this year. It's just me and the driver. I want you to go on the California dates with me. And I said, that might be tricky, buddy. The whole job thing. And it's like, no, but I know you'd be a good hang. Let's just do the California dates. You can just take like a week or 10 days off. We'll just cruise around the state. And I said, let me get back to you on that. But it was a very sweet thought. I knew what he was envisioning, and he's a dear friend, but I just couldn't imagine pulling 10 days out of my schedule to do that during, the height of the year, the height of the season. But that should be a hell of a concert. Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Joan Jett should be really great. Yeah. And way too delayed.
I think it'd be well worth seeing. Oh. Exactly. Yeah. They've been pushed back 3 times as well. Yeah. I'm actually talking about buses. I'm talking the production company into throwing us all on a tour bus to do the documentary. I think it'll be hilarious.
Oh, I think it's awesome. Just a bunch of heads in a 40-foot metal tube. Yeah, what could go wrong? It'd be great. I want to go back. You mentioned soundgirls.org. I'm very fond of this organization. I know you are. You did a virtual conference in December 5th with the great Daniel Liston Keller. You mentioned him. How did that go? Did everything come well and good attendance?
Yeah, everything was great. Exactly. Yeah. And it's building such a strong community, which is nice. And hopefully it has, I had lunch with Carrie a couple of weeks back, before she started rehearsals and stuff, which was just wonderful to see her because she's always so busy between Soundgirls and, whatever Pearl Jams and different versions of them are coming up with, she's always busy.
Solo stuff
but
and all the stuff she does.
And she's just put her heart and soul into this, and, I hope that different members step up and start, taking on different positions as well, and
sure.
And I think if some of the younger ones come in and start doing some of the organising side of it, everyone will get a better feel for everything, and it'll open it up again. And again, it's opening up from more than just sound, So there's, lighting people and riggers and, all sorts of things, video people and stuff, that are becoming involved in it as well now, which is nice because it needs to be that. And that was always her vision. I mean, well, her vision started as sound, but she's always wanted, that it would grow into something, more diversified. So, I think it's wonderful. It's a great thing. And she's just doing the most amazing job with it, and it's just, it's something fabulous. And I'll always help out whenever I can, So,
Absolutely.
and, I can only help out, I help out more on the mentoring side and that sort of thing because the technology's changed so much since I was doing it, even because, towards the end I was doing logistics and stuff anyway. So I wasn't actually hands-on with any of the technology per se for shows. So, it's changed so much, but there's so many good women out there. They need to come on up and join in and help it expand. I think it would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, no,
I
couldn't
absolutely.
agree more.
It's great.
Yeah, you guys actually hear better, and easier to supervise. I couldn't. I'll take 10 great women right now. It'd be wonderful. But the soundgirls.org.
I don't know if I was necessarily easier to handle.
All right, so it was a little bit of a generalization,
I was too much. I was too much of an alley cat fighting for survival. You know what I mean? It was
Well, maybe you were the one with the machete cut in the path. That has hopefully made it
That's right.
a smoother road for a lot of folks coming
Easier.
up through the more the current times. You've worked
Absolutely.
a lot of wonderful rooms, the Kino, West Berlin, Hammersmith Odeon. You mentioned the Palladium in L.A. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite venue that you love to play? A place that you just Red Rocks, anything like that?
Well, I mean, obviously Red Rocks is a fabulous venue, more aesthetically than anything, you know what I mean? But, I mean, as far as like memories and times and stuff, Madison Square Garden's pretty hard to beat, That's that's a venue that's pretty hard to beat, But, as far as like Hammersmith Odeon in London, that was my home away from home. You know what I mean? It's like I never needed a pass for anything. I would just turn up and this guy on the backstage door would like, hi, go straight up to the backstage bar, hang out, go wander about, never needed a pass, never needed anything. No. Didn't matter who the band was. It just didn't matter. You know what I mean? So, I've always got a soft spot for that, for the Odeon, and I don't even know if it's called the Hammersmith Odeon anymore. I think it's called something else now.
No way.
But that was just... Wrong. That was a home away from home, Yeah. So that's a good one. The Glasgow Apollo was a hell of a venue as well. Okay. The Glasgow Apollo was an amazing venue. Yeah. And the crew there, the local crew at the Glasgow Apollo were just infamous. They were just amazing. Them and Manchester Apollo were the two crews that were just, you couldn't beat it. Right. Couldn't beat them. They were fabulous. Fabulous crews,
Yeah.
And again, there's so many different venues, throughout Europe and Australia. And, I mean, where do you stop?
It's tough.
Each one has a meaning.
It's a tricky question, but I know, a lot of people here in America, I think a lot of people would say Red Rocks. I think a lot of those folks are ones that haven't loaded it in or dealt with the snowy days or the real hottie.
Well,
it can be very cold, can be very hot, but man, it's pretty. And now that they got the new roof in there.
Well, exactly. The roof looks beautiful, actually. Yeah. But, and I mean, if you've got a front of house position during the show, you get to see it. If you don't, you don't. So, you've got to go out, run out during the load in and have a look and then run back again and get back to work. You know what I mean? So, no, it's a beautiful venue. It is a beautiful venue. I do like it. And I've always had great shows there. So,
it's an amazing place. No two ways about that. A lot of history. You mentioned some of the old school pros. I think I noticed on your page you had a cool picture of Bill Graham and the wonderful singer. Help me with this.
Janis Joplin.
The one and only Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
What was your impression? You worked with Bill Graham, I believe. What was your impression of the great Bill Graham?
I loved Bill. I loved Bill. I thought he was just like a teddy bear, which people go, really?
Yeah, that is not. I mean, people love Bill, not the teddy bear remark. That one might twist some heads a little bit.
Yeah, it tends to, but I guess, I find that, different people who I've like looked up to over the years have always been these very empowering, sort of like overbearing kind of people for some reason, you know what I mean? And they just don't scare me. It's like I'm kind of drawn to them, you know what I mean? So I don't really register that size of them. I mean, if they're yelling and screaming at me, obviously, I register it. But if they're not, I don't live in fear of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Bill, I first did was a Santana tour in Australia before I left Australia even.
No kidding.
So I'd started working for the promoter there, Paul Dainty, and I was on the lighting crew. So, they had their one crew that did all the international tours. And I was fortunate enough when I left AC/DC, that's where I went. I joined that crew. So that was very cool. And that's what started me doing lighting. That's when I left sound. So that's when I first met Bill with Santana. And then when I moved to England, Santana came over to the UK as well. So I was there as well when they were doing shows. So I did some there.
Yeah.
And that was, so we all caught up again. It was all the same crew. It was a new tour had started, but it was just like back to back from the last one, but different continent, Yeah. And then when I came over here, when I transferred over to here, I ran into Bill again up in San Francisco. I was doing, I was in charge of all the production for Guitar Player magazine, was doing a 50th anniversary thing. Mm-hmm. And so we were flying in guitar players from all over the world, getting all their equipment, doing all the limos. I mean, pretty much I ran the whole show, which was a really eye-opening experience. It was amazing, actually. I really enjoyed it. But obviously Bill was around at that time, So it was like, I got to see him again then, So it's, over the years, like every few, 5 or so years, I'd bump into him again. And it was always a warm, friendly, thank you. Hi, how are you? Great. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Now you're here? Are you living here now? Where do you keep moving? Yes, I keep moving.
Yeah.
I said, I'm following you, Bill. I'm following you, And like when he opened when he took over the Wilton Theatre down here, he just did some amazing things that were outside of the box that most promoters won't go that extra length for, to save the Wilton Theatre and bring it back to life. And, and it was off his chart at the time, it wasn't his on his map, So it was, things like that. That's what I really respected about him. And then when I found out that him and Janice got on really well, because she was like, she was probably the first musician that really caught my eye when I was a little kid at school.
Yes,
when I heard her sing Summertime, it was like, holy Jesus, what was that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like, and then there was the whole thing that I thought I was going to Woodstock when I was 11 years old to watch her play. But that's a whole other story.
It's in the book, guys. If you want to know about it, read it in the book. It's in the book, yeah. And now you speak very eloquently about that moment in your life and your fondness for Janice. And she was an extraordinary singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, very talented.
Absolutely. So they're two of my favorite people. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a perfect picture. It kind of has it all in one picture. The Janice.
It does,
picture.
And they're just both.
Yeah, I know people
They're both so happy in it. It's just perfect.
A friend of ours, John Del Rio, just said Bill was always nice to me, and until someone or something pissed him off, and that's how I think it's largely remembered. It depends if you're with Showtime and you were building out. I personally didn't have these experiences, but I do know a lot of folks that have. And Bill was just a get it done guy, and he, like you said, he thought out of the box. He was extraordinary, and a lot of the things that we see and do in live rock and roll today is some of that. A lot of it has come from his process and stuff that he pioneered. So yeah, he's just an absolute legend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's an example. Here's an example of Bill going off. It was in London, actually, the Hammersmith Odeon. Mm-hmm. And what it was Carlos's birthday. So what they were doing as a surprise, it was what was the album? The album with all the animals on the cover.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what that album was. Yeah. So this was the idea. Bill had decided that what he was going to do was everyone was going to get wild animal costumes, right?
Oh,
and for the last song, they were going to drop a cargo net down onto the stage, throw Carlos into and fly him out, and everyone was going to have animal costumes on. So this was the thing. So Bill got right. Yeah, what could go wrong? So Bill had a gorilla costume. Bill had a gorilla costume. This was before the sound check, so everyone's trying on their costumes, and we're flying in the big cargo net thing. And of course, it's getting caught on all the lights and everything. It's a nightmare, But it's like, well, we're not going to say no to him, are we? Of course, we can do this, So we're figuring it out, and all of a sudden, Bill's got his gorilla mask on. Everyone's got all their costumes on, and he's in full gorilla bodysuit as well,
Yeah.
And then someone does something, and he pulls the head off, and he shoves it under his arm, and he starts hammering on someone, right? And every time he does this with his finger, he squeezes with his arm, and the face on the gorilla mask goes all, so it's hilarious. I'm looking at it. Everybody's terrified. It's deathly quiet. No one's saying a word. No one's moving. And I get the giggles. And I'm giggling. And he's going, and then all of a sudden he's looks to me, and he's like, what are you doing? I see it. And I've got tears coming down, and it's and all of a sudden he looks down and he sees this face squished up, this goofy gorilla expression under his arm, and then at that point everyone just started laughing, And then so that broke the ice. It was hilarious. And then it was okay, well, whatever it is, it'll be fine. And he threw the gorilla mask at me, shut up, threw it at me, the head, and then everyone's disappeared, just thinking we're going to disappear while there's a break in this, let him cool down. So, and then Carlos appears as if on cue. The only people there is Bill standing in the center of the stage with a full gorilla outfit except for the head. And Carlos looks at him like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, never mind. Go to the dressing room," and off he goes, and he charges off with Carlos. But Carlos is like, "What the hell's going on here?" Because no one else was around. I'd hidden the gorilla head, and there was Bill just standing there with his whole gorilla outfit on, going Carlos is like, he's lost his mind.
Yeah, that is a classic rock and roll.
So that was yeah. So that was pretty cool. That's one of my fond memories. Yeah.
That sounds really fun. Let me ask you, what was your favorite thing to do, during your touring days when you were out doing it? A lot of people, when they get a downtime and free time on tour and you're out and about, some of us go and chase the good food or go look at the sights, the architecture. What was your pastime when you had downtime off touring?
I would horseback riding was my thing.
That's awesome.
And I would drag various members of crews and bands with me, and they were all ever so, okay. Yeah. Most of them had never been on horses before. So it was always really kind of cool. Plus I'd found out really quite early that if you're incredibly hungover and you're sitting on the back of a horse and you just kick it full into a gallop, you leave that hangover at the gate.
It's behind you.
I swear to God, it's gone.
Right,
so you're good. Yeah. So you're good. Good to go.
Yours wasn't two aspirins.
So it's hilarious.
It was to go find a horse.
No, yeah, mine was get me a horse that goes really fast.
That's fun.
Pull them off and go. So horse riding around the world, I've ridden pretty much in every country I've been to. And one experience, which was my favorite, was there's the Austrian dancing horses, the Lepanzas.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them were threatened, during World War II, they were being slaughtered and stuff. And the Spanish took them up to Austria, and they were hidden there, and they were looked after up in the mountains. And I found this horse riding place in Austria in the mountains that still bred them and still trained them.
Wow.
And it was amazing. This guy sort of, who really didn't speak any English or wasn't going to speak English with me.
Wow.
And he said, yes, that I could ride one, but his training assistant would have to be there with me, and I could only do it in the ring, because they're used to working in rings,
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden I go into this barn, and there's this huge, beautiful animal, and I go to get on it, and all of a sudden I feel a flick on my ankle, and I turn around, and she must have been 8 or 9 years old, this little girl, in full jumpers and everything, she's full regalia, and she's like, and this little girl, she just wailed into me for the whole ride. It was hilarious. It was and that horse would listen to every single word and every movement she made. And by the end of it, I was such a better writer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That by just listening to this little kid telling me, and she just slapped me on my ankles with her riding crop. You know, it's like, Jesus, you know, this kid's mean. You know?
Well, that's also how
it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah, no, they're beautiful animals, and I think some people struggle with some of their training practices, but my God, they're quite the sight to see. They're magnificent, and then some of probably the most handsome horses on the planet. They're really extraordinary. You know, we're running up against it, and I told you I'd be careful with the time, because I want as many people to see this as possible. You have such great stories, and you're such a wonderful guest. You know, I think a lot of the youngsters coming up there'd be no way to not envy the career you've had. And, you know, I'd like to tell them that's from hard work and being at the right place at the right time. And I firmly believe in the good hang and the knowing how to interact with people. What advice would you have for some of the young folks coming up that would like to be in the industry for, the best way to comport themselves, and any kind of advice you might have for them?
You know, I've spoken to a lot of people just recently, funnily enough, have reached out, and I've met some for coffee or whatever, others, in different countries I've just spoken to over the phone or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's important that you network, get yourself out there. Don't send a resume and think that that's good enough, because it's really not. No. It's not anymore. Mm-hmm. People don't hire a piece of paper, they hire the person. So they want to know what you're about. They want to know what you're capable of, or what you're willing to do to become capable of, is just as important as being already capable, So you've got to have that drive, and you've got to be a person who people can actually stand being with, because we're in such close quarters all the time.
That's right. That's a really important thing.
You've got to leave your attitude at the door. You really do, and you're one of a group of people, and you have to remember that. So, you've got to be willing to accommodate different things, and hopefully people will accommodate things for you as well, Yeah. And if they're not, there's a reason for it, so figure it out. Why are they not? I'm bending over backwards for all these people, but no one will give me an inch. Well, why? Think about it, so, and even ask someone, what's going on, what can I do to fix this, or, how can I do a better job, or what am I doing, I don't want to say wrong, but what aren't I getting? Because that's kind of an important thing, is you've got to get it. You've got to get the mentality of it. You've got to get the outlook of it. That's right. You've got to get the whole rhythm of it, because it is a rhythm. There's a rhythm to a crew. Absolutely. And if that rhythm's put off by one member, it affects everybody, so, networking, meet people, turn up, do, people say, well, I don't want to turn up and work for free, well, everyone started working for free.
Well, they just started
you
with
want to call it an internship?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're coming out of the gate all wrong.
Well,
that's not good.
Yeah, well, exactly. And if you've been to a school and you've graduated, that's great. But remember, it's different in a different venue and a different city and a different country every night. Yes. You can't just have that one room that you were taught in. It's a completely different thing. Yeah. It's good basics for you, and it's a good foundation. But remember, it's only that. Yeah. And you can build on it and create an incredibly strong and successful career. But you don't have to have it either. That's right. You've just got to have a willingness to get out there and do it and listen, and if you do something and someone teaches you how to do something, ask them why you're doing it that way, because knowing why is as important as knowing how.
I agree.
Because if it changes all of a sudden and you're not putting these 12 things together in this order, now what you've got to do is lose 4 of them and put them together in a different order. You're not going to know how to do it because you don't know why you were doing it that way in the first place. Yeah. So ask questions, but time it. Don't stop people from doing their job. Yeah. So you've got to be a good judge of character. Someone said the other day that if you took a psychology class, it would probably help.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
And it probably would.
I couldn't agree more. Just 101. You don't have to go into the whole 4 years, but just take Psychology 101. The basics of psychology is really helpful in this job. No, you couldn't be more right. That's excellent advice, my dear. I can't say enough how glad I am that you came back on the show and helped me finish up some of this stuff. I feel like I could do this for 2 more hours. I literally have the questions for it, but time is it waits for no person. I want to highly recommend your book.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's such a treat, Tana.
Thank you
so much, my dear. But seriously, now this book is coming out August 2nd, maybe the 3rd, in America and Canada. See what I did there? That was some Freudian shit for sure. To me, are 2 very separate things, California and America. But it's coming out in America and Canada on August 2nd, and then in the UK, and sometime early September, I believe. And I recommend highly.
Correct.
And I'm not going to say something's good if it's not. This is an extraordinary book. I loved it. I couldn't put it down. And I highly recommend that you go out and get this book. If you're in the game, if you just like good stories and you love music, this is the book for you. Loud by Tana Douglas. Tana, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you, and we wish you much success and many good fortune.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure. You guys are fabulous.
You're the best.
My new sound family.
Our lighting. All right, my friend. You take good care of yourself. We'll see you again soon. I hope. Thank you. Good night.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So listen, guys, we do this every week. This next week we've got John Warren coming up, just an extraordinary guy in his own right. We're going to have him on. He will be our 99th guest. Does that sound right? 99th? Yes.
Yeah.
Tana was just our 98th, and we were lucky to have her. And in the week following John Warren, so that'd be 2 Thursdays from now, if everything goes right and all the fingers are crossed and all the dots are...
He's a busy guy, man.
Yeah, we're going to have Big Daddy, the one, the only, the founder and CEO of Sound Image, going to come and going to be on the show. And I'm telling you, talk about a guy who knows where all the bodies are buried, all the good stories. Dave Shadone, our boss, the founder and CEO of Sound Image, is going to come and be our 100th guest, and I'm very, very excited about that. I cannot, in fact, wait. So 2 weeks from now, we're going to do that. Next week, we're going to be here at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with the great John Warren. We hope you come back and see us then. Until then, you guys be good, behave, be well. We'll see you again next week. Good night. Yeah.